Hey, in the league, I see watching exciting teams and seeing them win. But what really scares me is a silent killer. What really scares me is a team that goes about their business, man. And sometimes you're not sure how or why or when, or they looked open, why wouldn't they take advantage? Those teams scare me. You see, Cardoso, the difference between Cardoso and Jose is that Jose is a strategist. He comes with a 90-minute plan where things go like this and we do this, and then I'm going to be the aggressive one. But Cardoso answers questions. Cardoso fixes problems. Cardoso reads the game. And I think those two coaches, but I want to focus on Cardoso, they have exposed the different levels of coaching in the league. This man has been here only a couple of months, but he understands his team enough to know that at 35 minutes, I need to change this game up. Because before 35 minutes, Mamelodi Sundowns were directionless. Mamelodi Sundowns were playing the ball, but there's a discipline that has left Mamelodi Sundowns where now the players are a little bit freer. They get to do what they want. And as much as that is great, I think sometimes the too much freedom becomes an issue. So if you're watching that game and seeing the positions that Ribeiro picked up, seeing the positions that Nkulise picks up, seeing the positions that Aubrey was picking up, you could tell that, okay, there was a lot of people that could play the ball, and all of them were almost fighting to see who was going to get that ball. And what it was doing is that it was letting golden arrows come out and hit them on the counter. Usibia had an incredible 15 minutes where he was going up the left-hand side and it was giving Khoza some troubles, right? Usibia, he had a shot within the first 3 minutes, I think it was, where Ronan had to parry it out, for example. So this man looked at this thing and said, "Hi man, yes, Pambili, Korisang is not comfortable as the left side of a front three. He's not a winger. He's not a forward. He's more of a midfielder, the way I see him. I expected him to come into this game and play similar to how Themba Zwane plays the wing position and drop inside and, allow the two to go forward." So then he was like, let me take out Umkulise. Let me bring on Ushalulile. And what that change made was that Golden Arrows was being caught with balls in behind. But Reyners' running was not right. But also I think he realized that, okay, we don't need to bring in a lot of midfielders because they're not playing a midfield game, Arrows. So let me take one out and bring in somebody who can also stretch that thing. If you saw how they started in the beginning of Shalulile coming in, they were stretching Golden Arrows so that you could have two runs, diagonal runs coming in like that. But I guess the difference between Shasha and Reyners is that Shalulile is able to do so much more. He can play with the back on the ball, back against the defense. He can beat defenders to the ball. He can lay off a pass. He can reposition. He can do all of those things. He can run in behind. He can play low. He's a complete striker. Maybe he was just missing form. Now he's back on form. And he does all those things at, let's say, a level of 80. And Reyners does one thing at 100, right? But in any case, Cardoso makes that change. You start seeing Shasha shifting that defense and midfield and putting Arrows in an awkward position. They score the one goal, they go into halftime. And again, this is the difference between great coaches or the two master tacticians that we have in the league and everybody else. Sorry to interrupt the video that I'm sure you're enjoying, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of the support that you guys have shown me and my Overthinking Football platform. I'm a one-man band that's doing all of this, and I really do enjoy the comments about how, Supersport needs to come fetch me and SABC and all of that stuff. And I think it speaks to the quality of the content, but also the amount of effort that I put in. So I just wanted to say thank you. But the truth is that Abu Supersport and all of those guys, yes, we're competing with them, but it's a completely different place. The sponsors are are looking for former players, and to be honest with you, running some of these things is getting so difficult, and things have changed at home. So financially, it's a whole different world. So I wanted to try something new and come to the overthinkers, the people who watch the content, and say it would be incredible if you guys could contribute monthly towards the platform, towards keeping my lights on, but also making sure that all of the crazy things that I want to do, that I want to take Supersport on with, I can actually do. And just for 20 Rand every month, I think that would be an incredible contribution if you can make it. It may sound like a little, but if we can get a lot of people behind it, then we'll be able to carry on doing what I do. I'll be able to carry on giving you the content and also expanding it, because we don't have shows like this, and us content creators need help from our audiences. So I just came here to ask you if you can. Here is the account number that you guys can use in order to contribute. And I think, yeah, I'd be very grateful if you would. But anyway, let's get back to the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Golden Arrows went into halftime with a business decision to make. It's either we stay back and we marshal this defense and we maybe end this game at 1-0, or we go at them. And what is so great about Sundowns is, again, they're able to play two different kinds of football. First half, it was a lot about controlling the ball. It was a lot about finding the patches, the spaces, because Golden Arrows, even though they were playing a mid-ish block at times, they had a very high line, so they were just popping balls over, right? Then in the second half, and we saw something similar versus Isibanye, Golden Stars, he clicked into Mangoba mode. And this Sundowns, what they do in the second half is, now that we've cut you once and we're leading 1-0, you still think that you can get back into this game. You still think that you can come back. And the more you push people forward, very reckless from Golden Arrows. I think at some point they had 7 players committed into a press that didn't exist. But anyway, they had 7 players committed forward. Now, Sundowns clicks into the other mode. And they go Tash, Shasha, let's say Kodisang, go. Ribeiro, go. There was a point where Ribeiro had a 4v1. And he did that Ribeiro selfish thing of trying to run the ball into the net. There was a point where Ukipa came out and Ribeiro had an open post to aim at. He didn't take the shot. So if not for those little decisions, those are maybe 2 or 3 more chances that Sundowns could have had that were open. I would say they were big chances, right? And they show you the counter-attacking side of that team. So what I enjoy about this Mamelodi Sundowns is, when it doesn't look pretty or it's not working, he's not afraid to change it, number one. Number two, once they've pulled you in a certain way, they react off of you. Oh, you still want to leave people forward? We're going to come in and punish you. Then there's also sometimes a consolidation phase where they go, you know what, guys, we're going to hold the ball at the back. Why do we need to do anything more? We're going to hold the ball at the back, we're going to play it, we're going to be comfortable. So having all of those capabilities, but also knowing when to use them, is what is making Cardoso different. But back to the point I was making about silent killers. Silent killers, death by 1,000 cuts was the phrase used on my life. Death by 1,000 cuts. You don't boil a frog by throwing it into boiling water. You boil a frog, you put it into cold water, then you heat it up a little. And by the time the frog realizes that it's cooked, it's too late. This is what I think Sundowns is doing. Because Sundowns right now is sitting on 28 goals and they've conceded 5. They've scored more than Pirates. 28 goals. They've just dispatched Golden Arrows 4 goals. They've only lost 5 games this season. I don't think Cardoso, he's either lost 1 or he's still unbeaten, but they've only lost 5 games this season. So while we're peperezing about Cardoso and the players, and I often speak about Mkhulise, which please, can you give me my credit for that? But anyway, what we often speak about with these coaches, and we say that no, Sundowns is still coming in, and Cardoso, hey, they just keep winning. and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking these points, one after the other, 3 points after 3 points after 3 points after 3 points. By the time we realize what's happening, it's going to be too late. I am so glad that we have an Orlando Pirates that is also stacking their points as well, because that is going to become a very important race. Next week is going to be such an incredible game to watch. Next week is going to be a match of two thinkers. I don't know if it's going to be high scoring. I don't think so. But we're going to watch some high level thinking. And I think Cardoso is slowly showing why Sundowns got him in. Massive gulf in difference between the two coaches. If we can speak about some standout players, I think Taile maybe highlighted one of Sundowns' weaknesses in terms of Sundowns' physical players they struggle with. Him, the number 9 from Maniema, Rangati Vavairo last season. I think the Sundowns players aren't used to being physically challenged. So khoza was being goaded into some mistakes that maybe he shouldn't have been making. Usibia had a nice 10-minute patch where it seemed like he was going to be comfortable on that side and put Mamelodi Sundowns under pressure. On the Sundowns side, I think Allende had a majestic game. You have to speak about Shasha and the change that he's made and how he's come back to form, chasing the record. I believe the record was adjusted to 129. So I think he's 2 or 3 goals away from matching the record and even becoming the PSL in the league's top goal scorer ever, which is something to look out for. To see him rebounding after everything about Mechis and all that is great. I think Ribeiro had a very good game. Even though he gets selfish at some times. And Mokwena. For all of the questions we had about Mokwena and losing about Obas and losing about Kutzia and maybe playing a different type of game under Cardoso, he's really come out well and he's playing up to his abilities. I'd like to also shout out to Mudiba, who I was criticizing in the first half, because I will always say Mudiba is not a left back. He's a left inverting back, but if he's left back pure, he's a defensive liability. But in the second half, when Korisang was moved back inside and he could maybe play the similar role that he plays when Zwane is on the pitch, not as a left wing back going up there, but as a left wing back just holding to play with the other guys. Again, I think he's second to none in that type of game. So Sundowns was well worth the win. 4-0, a quiet 4-0, a scary 4-0, a 4-0 that should be raising alarms in the league. But I know that it's not going to raise alarms, and they're going to keep doing this to every team that they face. Pirates is going to be an interesting team. But the fact that they can play different ways, the fact that Cardoso can change tactics and change players and understands his team, that's another thing. You have to understand your team. And I think Cardoso has an understanding of his team that a lot of PSL coaches lack in terms of understanding their own sides and what opportunities and what things you can do with their teams, what they have. So, yeah, well worth it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Well done, Masandawan.